we just left off was that we created a new repository on GitHub, brought that into our local computer, synced it up to our remote repository, and now everything's working, and the only thing that we should have in that file is a readme.md file, which again is a markdown, and you don't have to worry about that right now. But where I wanted to continue was to go ahead and create a blank HTML page and make changes to that, and then push that up to our remote repository so that you can see what the process is for adding to your code or changing your code or doing anything within your project files on your computer, and then syncing it up with your GitHub repository. On my screen, I now have my directory showing. So how do I go about actually creating a brand new file within the command line? Touch to create a new file, and then I'm going to name it index.html just because that's pretty basic, and I'm going to include that .html on the name of the file because that's what's gonna say, hey, we're creating a brand new HTML file versus a JavaScript file or a CSS file. Once I finish typing that out, I'm gonna go ahead and hit enter, and nothing happens, right? Wrong. Because if you type out ls again, you will now see that that directory not only has a readme file, but it also has a index.html file. On the right-hand side, or at least on my screen on the right-hand side, you can see that this directory or this folder now has both the readme file and the index.html file. I have changed the settings in my Visual Studio Code to allow me to write out code space dot, hit enter, and it will, in a couple seconds, open up Visual Studio Code directly in the project that I am on in my terminal. If you didn't know that trick, that's another one. It's exclamation mark tab, and it will give you kind of the boilerplate for HTML. Within my body, I'm just gonna create an h1 tag. At this point, you can continue to use the terminal that we were on, or within Visual Studio Code, you can click on terminal up at the very top and hit new terminal, but it will actually place you directly in the directory that you're working off of. So either one is going to work as long as you're in the right directory. I'm gonna go back to the terminal just because that's what we've been using in this video. But within here, if you type out git status, git space status, you can see that there's an untracked file. What that means is that there's a change, there's something that's not synced up with whatever is on your local computer versus whatever that same project has, but on the remote version on GitHub. So clearly on my local computer, I have this HTML file created and something changed about it, whereas that's not being reflected on GitHub just yet. So the next step would be to make sure that this gets reflected on there. And the way to do that is to git space add space, and you have two options here. Git add dot, and that's going to add basically all of the untracked files onto this commit, or you can specify which file you want to commit. So it's really up to you, but I do git space add space dot. Now if I do git status, again, there's no longer any untracked files like there was up here, but there are changes to be committed, which basically means, okay, we've got this up in a certain space. We have to make sure that these are the changes that we want to make. So I need to commit these files, commit these changes. That command is going to be git space commit space -m for message, so that you can leave a message about this commit file. In quotes, you're gonna have to say first commit, or let's say added HTML file. And typically those messages that you leave whenever you commit your files have to be a little bit specific to what the changes are that you actually made. You can see that it kind of guides you to use Git Push in order to publish any of your local commits. And that's really the last step. I can either do Git Push because I only have one branch, or I could do Git Push origin main, because if I look in my GitHub over here, you can see that I have one branch. It's called main, and that's gonna be my origin, my original. Another way to fully make sure that this was done correctly is to go back to your GitHub account, refresh the page, and you will see that your getting started with GitHub repository now reflects the README file as well as the index.html file. And you can see that that hello world was added to the HTML file. And that's really it. If you're curious about seeing what changes it is that you made on your GitHub account, within each repository, this number of commits over here on the right-hand corner, all of the changes that you've made, all of the commits that you've made to this project, along with the messages that you added whenever you created those commits. Leaving those messages can be really helpful, because once you're working with a team or various people, or you go back to code that you maybe have not touched in a while, leaving these messages can be very helpful. That is it for this video. There's definitely a lot more to learn, a lot more to go over when it comes to using GitHub, working with branches, doing pull requests and merge requests, and all of that fun stuff. But for now, this is honestly what I can see you using for the first couple of projects that you work on, especially since you're working on your own. I would challenge you to go ahead and try this on your own from scratch, from creating a new repository to creating a new project on your local computer, syncing them up, making changes on that project, continue using that project for maybe you write your personal portfolio or create a calculator app, something, whatever level you're at, go ahead and try using GitHub for that project. Again, this is only one of the videos of my GitHub series videos that I am making. So if you want to see more content like this one, or if you want to check out some of my other videos where I talk about all things learning to code, joining coding boot camps, along with some other things coming up, which I'm excited to share, then definitely go ahead and click the like button and subscribe to this channel for more videos and more content. Thanks for being here. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.